Good morning. So last time we saw a Norton's theorem. So in the theorem, any complex network is replaced by equivalent circuit containing the current sources, equivalent current source IN and the resistance RN. Okay. So this is the Norton's theorem. So what is IN? IN is the current when RL is shorted. Okay, when A and B terminals are shorted, then current flowing through that short is nothing but IN, and RN is equivalent resistance between terminals A and B when RL is opened and all voltage sources are replaced by a short. Okay, so this is the Norton's theorem. So we already studied the Thevenin's theorem. So let us see how we are going to solve the one problem by using Thevenin's as well as Norton. Suppose this is a given circuit which contains R1 and R2 and voltage source 20 volt is applied, and this is a load resistance RL. Now your problem is you are going to find out the voltage and current for this RL. Okay, so you are going to find out this by using Thevenin's theorem as well as the Norton theorem. Okay, so let us start step by step. Okay, simultaneously we are going to solve both Thevenin's theorem and by using Norton theorem. So first step in Thevenin's theorem is to find VTH. So how we are going to find VTH? To find VTH you have to open the RL. Okay, you have to open the RL and just measure the voltage or calculate the voltage between the terminals A and B. Okay, so here we open the RL and the voltage is nothing but voltage across R2. VTH is nothing but voltage across R2. So R1 and R2 are connected in series. So therefore by using simple potential divider formula we can find the VTH. VTH equal to R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into applied voltage V. So we get VTH is 10 volt. So here the first step for Norton's theorem is to find IN. So how we are going to find the IN? So just you have to short A and B, and the current flowing through that short circuit is nothing but a IN. Okay, so if we short A and B, then what happens? If you short A and B means this R2 gets shorted. Okay, so this R2 resistors get shorted. If you observe this R2 terminal, this terminal is connected to this terminal, so this is out of the circuit now. Okay, so whatever the total current from the voltage source flows through the R1 and this short, so there is no current flowing through the R2. Okay, so now the voltage resistance is R1 and voltage is V. So simple, by using Ohm's law, IN is equal to V by R1. So by using Ohm's law you can find the IN, that is 2 milliampere. Okay, so first step is here we are going to find the VTH and here we are going to find the IN. The second step is to find RTH. So RTH is the resistance shown between the output terminals A and B when the voltage sources are shorted. So here we are going to short the voltage source and observe the voltage between A and B. So we get these two resistors are connected in parallel. So RTH is nothing but a parallel combination of these two. So R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2. If we solve this, we get a 5 kilo ohm. So here also in this step 2 of this Norton theorem, this step is same as that of the Thevenin's theorem. Okay, so this is the same step. So here we named this RN and here is RTH. So the same step, you have to open the RL and short the voltage source. You get the RN equal to 5 kilo ohm. Okay, so now third step is, here we are going to connect the Thevenin's equivalent circuit and here we are going to connect the Norton's equivalent circuit. So in Thevenin's equivalent circuit, so VTH is connected in series with the RTH and RL is connected between the A and B terminals. So RL is unchanged. So VL equal to, now these two are connected in series. VL is the voltage across the RL. So our aim is to find the voltage across the RL by using Thevenin's theorem and here by using Norton's theorem. Okay, so VL equal to, by using potential divider formula, RL divided by RTH plus RL into applied voltage V. Okay, so VL is the voltage across RL, so keep this RL in the numerator. Okay, So after solving this, we get 6.67 volt approximately voltage, that is voltage across RL. And if we measure the IL, or calculate the IL by using Ohm's law, IL equal to VL by RL. So VL is the 6.67 volt divided by 10K. So you get 0.667 milliampere. Why milliampere? So it is K means 10 raised to 3. It is in a denominator. If it goes into numerator, it becomes 10 raised to minus 3. So 10 raised to minus 3 is milli, and this is the current. So that's why it is ampere. Okay. So here, if we connect Norton's theorem, so here IN and RN both are connected in parallel, and since RL is connected between A and B terminal, so this total circuit is replaced by this equivalent circuit. Okay. So now, how we are going to find the IL? So there is a there is a formula to find the current through the RL. That is, so you took this RN in the numerator, so RN divided by RN plus RL into IN. So you get this 2 milliampere into 2 milliampere is the IN. If you multiply this one, then you get 0.667 milliampere. So this is the same as that of this Thevenin's theorem. Okay. So by using this current and the resistance, we can, by using Ohm's law, you can solve this VL equal to IL into RL. So we get 6.67 volt. So this is the same as that of the VL by using Thevenin's theorem. That means the same circuit can be solved by Thevenin's as well as by using Norton's, and we get the same result. Okay. So this is the another example based on Thevenin's and Norton's theorem. Okay. Okay, now we are going to see the another theorem, that is maximum power transfer theorem. So it is just like a statement, there is not any explanation. So maximum power transfer state that if there is a complex network, okay, which containing voltage sources, resistors, impedances, all this. So it is a complex, so that's why name complex. So it has output terminals A and B. Between that we are going to connect the load resistance RL. So this complex network, so we find the equivalent resistance RTH, that is the resistance of the circuit. Okay. Similarly, any complex network or any network having internal resistance, say R equivalent, or we can say here R in. Okay. So any complex network having a equivalent internal resistance. So that's why here R equivalent, we can say that here R equivalent or here R in. Okay. And now we connect external resistance, say RL, it is the load resistance. So in this condition, if a complex network having internal resistance, this R equivalent, and load RL is connected, in this case maximum power, okay, so maximum power is transferred from this circuit to this load RL. When it will be happen? When this R equivalent becomes equal to RL. Okay. So this is a simple maximum power transfer theorem. So maximum power is transferred from the circuit. Okay, maximum power is transferred from the circuit to the load RL when R equivalent becomes equal to RL. Okay, that is when the load resistance RL becomes equal to the internal resistance of the circuit, in that case only maximum power is transferred from this network or circuit to the load RL. Okay, so this is a maximum power transfer theorem. This is a simple statement. So as given in the textbook, we are going to study here electromagnetism. Magnetism. Okay, magnetism. Electromagnetism means, so there is a magnet and electricity. Okay, so these two, electricity and magnetism, are associated with each other. Okay, so how these two are associated? So electricity and magnetism, these two are associated. How? Because electricity can produce a magnetism, and by using magnetism you can produce electricity. So that's why these two factors are associated with each other. Okay, so that's why we can say that electricity produces the magnetism and magnetism produces the electricity. So whatever the generators, all based on this concept. Okay, if we compare the electric current and magnetic field, electric circuit and magnetic circuit, if we compare these two factors, then we observe some similarity between these two. So electric circuit is like this. So there is a resistance R. Okay, so we connect a voltage source V. So as we connect this, the current I is produces through this circuit. So this is electric circuit. And in magnetic circuit there is a magnet. Okay, so having S and N pole. So this magnet is equivalent to this voltage source. Okay, so this produces a magnetic field around this magnet. Okay, so this magnetic field of lines are known as flux. Okay, so this flux is just equivalent to the current. Okay, so this voltage source, and the resistance is here is opposed produced by this current. So there is also opposed to the flow of this flux. Okay, so this is known as reluctance. So here it is the resistance and here it is the reluctance. Okay, so these two are some equivalent parameters. So like here resistance, here reluctance, current, like flux here. So here voltage source, it is a MF, we can say that magnetomotive force. Okay, so let us see. So here is the current. Okay, there is the flow of electrons. Current is nothing but a flow of electron. But here is the flux. Okay, current here flux. The next one is the EMF. EMF is electromotive force. There is nothing but a voltage. And here is MMF. Here is MMF. That is a magnetomotive force. Okay. Then opposition to the flow of electron or current is nothing but a resistance R. So here also resistance, but it is named as reluctance. Okay, it is named as a reluctance, and it is also R. Okay, so it is also R. So here the formula for is resistance R is rho by E, where this is the conductivity. Okay, A is the area. Okay, so here reluctance R equal to 1 by mu. So where mu is a permeability, so permeability of this, okay, magnet. So it is a permeability, ability to magnetize. Okay, that is permeability. So sixth one is a conductance. So we know that conductance is nothing but a opposition of the resistor. So it is conductance is 1 by R. So here it is not a conductance, it is permanence. Okay, permanence also it is 1 by R, that is 1 by reluctance. Then next is R equal to V by I, like Ohm's law. So here also R equal to mmf, that is just like a voltage. It is magnetomotive force, it is a force, it is a divided by phi. Okay, so this is nothing but a flux density. Okay, the next one is, so this whatever the current produced in the circuit is because of the electron flow. Okay, so how current flows? This current is because of the electron flow, but here the flux does not flows. Okay, so flux does not flows. Okay, so then magnetic field is generated when current flows through the conductor. Okay, when current flows through any conductor or any wire, the magnetic field is produced, we know that. Similarly, electricity can be generated by the magnetic field. So here magnetic field can be generated by electricity, so here electricity can be generated by the magnetic field. Okay, so here last and important difference is, if you want a current, you should apply the voltage. Okay, if you want a current, you should apply the voltage. But here energy, whatever the energy is only required to create a flux, but not to maintain. Okay, suppose there is iron piece, and if we keep that iron piece near the permanent magnet, then magnetic flux is produced in the iron. So after some time that iron gets magnetized and flux remains as it is. So that's why energy is required only to create a flux, but we don't require energy to maintain that flux. Okay, so this is a little bit difference between electromagnetism and the electric current and the magnetic circuit. Okay, we know that there is one experiment for the electromagnetism. Okay, so there is experiment. We know that if we took a conducting wire, okay, and if we pass through a cardsheet board by doing a small hole, okay, and if we pass a current by applying voltage to this rod, okay, and if we spread some mixture of iron over this cardsheet board, okay, if we spread this mixture of iron, okay, on this cardsheet board, then the current flows through this conducting wire, and because of this current flow through the conducting wire, it arranges the current flow causes this iron fillings, okay, the small mixture of iron piece, it causes iron filling to arrange in the form of concentric circles. Okay, so this is arranged in the circular form. It means that as current flows through the wire, the magnetic field is produced across the wire in a circular concentric manner. Okay, so this is the magnetic field. It indicates that it is a magnetic field. So as the current flows through the wire, the magnetic field is, it indicates that magnetic field is produced around this wire. Okay, so according to this there are conclusions. Okay, so first conclusion is that the iron fillings are aligned in concentric rings around the conductor. This shows that magnetic field is developed in a circular orbit around the conductor. Okay, so these are arranged in concentric rings around the conductor, means the whatever the magnetic field is also, so magnetic field is also in the form of concentric circles. Okay, then another conclusion is, we find that these iron fillings are in a denser near the conductor. So these are denser near the conductor, and if you move away from this, it becomes rare. Okay, then as the distance increases from the conductor, it becomes rare, or the density goes on decreasing. So third conclusion is, as higher the current flow, it produces higher magnetic field. As large current flows through the conductor, high density magnetic field is produced. So this magnetic force of lines are known as a magnetic flux. Okay, so these lines generated are known as magnetic flux. Okay, and the number of magnetic line passes through the unit cross sectional area. Okay, passes through the unit cross sectional area is nothing but a flux density. If we set up a unit cross sectional area one by one, okay, then number of line passes through this area is known as a flux density. Okay, so the lines are flux and the density is nothing but the flux density is nothing but a density, number of lines passes through the cross sectional area. Okay, so this is a electromagnetism. So another is a electromagnetic induction. Electromagnetic induction. Okay, so electromagnetic induction means what? It is given in textbook. Let us shift on the textbook directly now. Okay, so if there is a horseshoe type magnet, and if you keep this conducting wire between these poles, and if we connect 1 meter, okay, that is galvanometer. Okay, so as this rod is fixed at the position, there is no current flowing through this meter. Okay, as if we move this wire up and down, that means as we move the wire, the number of lines cut by this wire increases. As the number of lines are cut by this wire, it generates a electron flow. Okay, it generates electron flow. So this is indicated by this meter. If you move that up, it shows a deflection on one side. If we move this conductor in the down direction, then it shows a deflection on the another side. So it indicates that depends on the direction up and down, the current changes the direction, that is indicated by this deflection. Okay, so this is nothing but a electromagnetic induction. Okay, so this is electromagnetic induction. So there is what it indicates, that the magnetic flux is cut by this conducting wire. If this wire is stable, there is no current. If we move up and down, then current is produced in this wire. If there is open, and if you only move the simple wire up and down, then EMF is induced. That means how EMF is induced? Because of this movement, the flux forces the electrons in the rod to shift one of the end. Okay, if the number of electrons collected at this end, then it becomes a negative. If the number of electrons collected at this end, it becomes a negative terminal. Okay, the electrons moves or forces to collect at one end depends on the movement of this wire up or down. Okay, so another one is inductance. What is inductance? This phenomena is just like a same. Okay, so it is the ability of conductor to produce a induced voltage when current flows through it. Okay, so inductance means what? If the magnetic flux is cut by any conductor, then EMF is induced, like that. Okay, if this magnetic field is cut by this inductor, then EMF is induced in this wire, that is known as nothing but it is inductance. Okay, so this is Faraday's law of induction. What it states: when a conductor cuts the lines of magnetic flux, an EMF is generated in the conductor, or when magnetic field is made by varying across the conductor, an EMF can be generated in the conductor. Okay, so there may be a changing magnetic field, or there may be a movement of conductor. If this magnetic, so here in this case, the magnet has a fixed magnetic field, so that we are going to move this wire up and down. Okay, so there should be one, either this magnetic field may be changing or this conductor may be changing. So that's why these two is included. When conductor cuts the line of magnetic field, an EMF is induced in the conductor. When magnetic field is made varying across the conductor, an EMF is generated in the conductor. So this is a Faraday's law of inductance. So there are two ways that, okay, how the inductance is produced. Okay, how the inductance is produced. So let us see here. So the self-inductance and mutual inductance. Okay, self-inductance means what? So here, if we apply a DC voltage, then fixed magnetic field is produced here. So in that case, EMF is not induced in this coil. If we connect AC voltage, okay, if we apply AC voltage to this coil, then what happens? Because of the AC current means what? It is a changing current. Okay, so AC current means it is changing current, and this current flowing through this coil, it generates a changing magnetic field, and because of this changing magnetic field, it is cut by the inductor itself. Okay, if you apply AC current, then changing current flowing through this coil generates a changing magnetic field, and this changing magnetic field is cut by the coil itself, and therefore EMF is induced in the coil, that is known as self-inductance. So inductance, whole EMF is induced because of this magnetic field lines cut by the same. So here in mutual inductance, if we apply AC voltage to the first coil, then it generates a changing magnetic field. Then if we keep the another coil very close to that first coil, then this magnetic field is cut by the neighboring coil, and EMF is induced in the second coil, then this is called as a mutual inductance. Okay, so this mutual inductance or self inductance, it depends on these three factors: is amount of flux, okay, the magnetic field. If higher is the magnetic field, more will be the magnetic flux. Okay, number of turns. If this number of turns are increased, you get a higher EMF induced in this coil. Okay, then rate of change of flux. If this changing, if this AC is having 50 hertz, if we increase the frequency, you will get the more amount of induced voltage. So if you change the frequency, rate of change of this flux means is nothing but a change. This is the frequency of this AC voltage. Okay, so there is another law. It is a Lenz law. The direction, the Faraday's only told about there is a induced EMF, but the direction is defined by this Lenz law. The direction of induced voltage in the direction which opposes the change of the flux. Okay, so this Faraday's law, okay, so this Faraday's law only shows that, so there is a EMF induced in the coil. So don't tell anything about the direction, but here, okay, but here the direction is given by this Lenz law. Okay, the direction means if the EMF is induced in this coil, okay, then if EMF is induced in this coil, then the direction which opposes the change of the flux, that the direction of that induced voltage is in such a way that opposes the changes of the flux. Okay, so how that flux can be changed? Because of the current. That means whatever the induced EMF is opposes the flow of this current, because this changing magnetic field is produced by this changing current. So in this case, so this magnetic induced field, so EMF induced is in such a direction that it opposes to current flow. Okay, so because of this current, EMF is induced, and this induced EMF again opposes the current flow. So this direction is given by this Lenz law. So we know about this mutual inductance and self. So this is the self inductance. So there is AC applied, and this is the mutual inductance. So this is all about this chapter, the basic electricity and the network theorems. Okay, so we are going to stop here now.